Is that all? Give me some more. Come on.
Oh, here's the best part. No need for a 5-string.
Oh man, that's pretty good.
What up?
Cool.
I'm
Ladies,
done now.
ladies and gentlemen, Detroit bass players around the world, Cleveland bass players, we got with us a fine beast on the bass here. None other than Mr. Michael Fredericks. How you doing, bro?
What's up, man?
I'm doing fine, man.
Finally got over here for one of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for showing up. What you think so far?
It's cool. It's cool.
Good.
Very, very cool. Nice community. Nice community of people.
Yeah, well, you was smacking the heck out of that bass. What kind of bass is that?
This is, they don't make them anymore. It's a Paul Reed Smith. Yeah, this is the second generation Paul Reed Smith 4-string that they came out with. They only made them for a couple of years, and they're kind of hard to find. And I stumbled across it quite by accident, and I hate everything about it, but I use this 95% of the time on all my gigs. So, but yeah, no, I dig it. And what you heard me do for a minute was it has a hip shot detuner. I don't know if you get a good shot of that on the back.
And what did it drop down to?
Now this one's a little different. This is called it's called a double shot. Now, if you turn the volume up, you can hear it. You can hear there's regular E. I can drop to D like a normal hip shot detuner does. But this lever has another position, and I flip it and I drop down to low B.
Oh, okay.
So on most gigs where I would take a 5-string, I don't even take a 5-string anymore. I just take a 4-string because now I have my low B. And the nice thing about it is, if you're just playing bass, you're not going to be wailing all over the place. I mean, you're playing bass, and if you need to go down below low D or anything else you're playing, you're just going to play notes. You're not going to play a bunch of crap. So going to low B doesn't facilitate a lot of playing necessarily when you're on it. But it's very effective. I don't have to take a 5-string anymore. I still do, but I can literally just play almost any gig now on just this. I mean, I can slap on it. Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily sound the best sitting by itself, but in the mix and everything else, man, when we got a whole band going, you can't really tell that much of a difference between it at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
What,
there you go.
What else you got? Look like you got something right there. Look like you got something right there.
Yeah, I brought my this is my Warwick fretless 5-string with my Roland V bass setup on. I brought that thing and just
well, let me see that Roland V bass. What you talking about there?
There's another pickup on here. You take a close look in the back right here. It's a small synth pickup, and there's a module on the back that you plug into. And it gives not only just like synthy type sounds, but I can also make it sound like other basses. I can make it sound like P bass, a jazz bass, a Music Man, different types of just synth type sounds as well too, and I can blend it with the bass, so I get all kinds of craziness. I can make it sound like guitar. Throw some crazy distortion, a wah-wah pedal on it, and have a lot of fun. Scare guitar players and stuff. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's always fun to scare guitar.
Yes, it is. This one is this is my I have an endorsement deal with MLP Guitars and also Gens Benz, but this was sent to me about 6 months ago. This is their 40th anniversary edition. This is called their Queen bass.
What's the company again?
MLP.
Okay.
Out of Hungary, Budapest, Hungary. So.
Now, what ties do you have to Budapest, Hungary?
I'm Austrian-Hungarian.
Oh, you are?
So, yeah, so that's, I joke around that it's a motherland. So, but yeah, that's kind of my ties to it. And I found them quite, I don't want to say by accident, but I was looking at another bass, and I contacted the company, we started up talking, and talk about what I did and what I used to do and what I'm doing, and they said, well, here, let's send you some stuff.
Okay, and what kind of amp gear type stuff you use?
I am a Gens-Benz endorser. I have a Gens-Benz Streamliner 900. I have the NeoX 212.
Now you actually happen to have that here with you, right?
Yeah, you wanted to check it out. You're checking out a bunch of other stuff. So
let me see what it looks like, man.
Yeah, it's
Here, let me see what's going on.
It's like any of the other small, lightweight, ultra high power.
You know what was kind of weird when I was picking that up to hand it to you? I didn't even realize I forgot all about we talking about an amplifier.
Right. Yeah.
And it was so light, Jesus.
Yeah. This is the Gens-Benz Streamliner 900. It's a true Class A tube preamp in it. Unlike most amplifiers that have tubes in the front end, the tubes don't really affect what the EQ does. Where this EQ is, it's interactive with the tubes, and it's like sort of, in a loose way, reminds me of like an old Fender BASSmint, where if you turn the bass, it affects how the treble and mid-range responds and everything else. And this kind of operates the same way. I've owned some very high-end tube direct boxes that I've used in the studio and live. And when I come out of this, it's as clean and as warm and fat and punchy as any of the tube DIs I've used over the years.
That's real nice, man.
Yeah.
How many watts is that?
900.
No, that's why it's called.
It's like anything else. Like the Mark-based stuff is sweet. Gens-Benz has cool stuff out too. Galen Kruger has it. Everybody's coming out with their lightweight heads, and I think the technology has finally reached a point to where it's hammered out. It's worked out. There's no more mistakes and everything in it. So, but yeah, this is they sent me this right. Actually, this was one of the first ones that they put out. Was right after this was released, they sent me this because I used the Shuttle 9.0 for a long time. So. But that's what I do. And also, one of my main cabinets is a back end 115 I use a lot too.
Who is the cabs again?
I have a Gens-Benz NeoX 212 that I use for big shows, and I also have a bag end 115 coax that I use.
Do you use the 212 for big shows?
The big stuff, yeah. That cabinet likes to be played loud, so it doesn't get used much.
Right. I'm thinking about going Gens-Benz as opposed to Mark Bass. They both got some good lightweight stuff.
It's all just different flavors of good, man. It's like Baskin Robbins. Everything in there, everything is good. It's just what do you like? That's what it comes down to. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, joining us on this interview is none other than.
My name's Alvin Grimes.
Alvin Grimes, another Detroit bass player sitting in, and we also have
Robert Patterson.
And Mr. Reginald Kennedy. All three of them are Detroit bass players, along with myself, Big Ive. I'm in here too. We just kicking it, doing a little round table, a bass round table in the BASSmint. That's BASSmint at Reggie Kennedy's house in the basement. And Mike, you gonna play a couple of things for us?
No, I'm not playing anything.
And he's going to talk about a few things. Like, first question, when did you start playing the bass and why?
It's a funny story. I started playing bass 4 days after my 16th birthday. And prior to that, I was banging around on drums in the basement. My brother played guitar, and a name that you probably heard come up before, Torrance Carey, a guitar player. He's a friend of ours. He was a guitar player with my brother, and I played drums. Well, I saved up money from Christmas. My birthday's in January, and long story short, my brother and I were about to walk out to Myers Music, which used to be in Royal Oak right there, by like 696 in Washington and everything. And Gordy from Gordy's Music used to work there. And I went up there, I was going to buy a drum set. We were walking out the house, my mom goes, "Where are you guys going?" My brother goes, I'm going to go buy his drum set. He has his own drum set in the basement, blah, blah, blah. My mom blew a gasket and said, "Oh no, no more drums in this house." Well, they didn't have a bass player, so my brother turned to me and said, "Hey man, why don't you play bass? She'll never know. She'll just think it's another one of my guitars coming in." I go, "All right." And that was it. That was it. That's how I learned. That's how I started playing bass.
Wow, that
is all downhill from there.
Wow, not from the way I see it. You play very well, I might add. So for you to get that good, you had to have some good influences and instructors and basically I'm trying to say influences Who are some of the guys you listen to and maybe emulated, maybe not emulated, but you know, some of your favorites and local and national?
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned local because I think a lot of cats always name the typical guys like Stanley Clark, Marcus Miller, Victor Wooten, you know, Jocko, and all them. And yeah, those are all fine and dandy. I listen to them, but I guess most importantly were just other people that I grew up around playing with. I've known William Pope 25 years. I mean, we go way back, and the whole group of those guys, Jimmy Ali, I've known Jimmy forever, same way. So it's mainly a lot of people who've personally had personal interactions with me. You know, it could be guitar players, it could be a horn player, it could be a keyboard player, it could be anybody, drummers even. But as far as on national level, currently I like guys like Will Lee. He's probably the top bass player I try to emulate when I play. There's a cat named Gary Flowers. He's a bass player for, God, who's he playing with right now? Keith Urban. And he's just a monster bass player. But he doesn't attract any attention because he just plays.
Playing like country stuff.
He plays pop country, and that's one of the biggest tours on the planet right now. And playing that same stuff consistently the same way every single night. You don't play to 40, 50,000 people and just kind of expand on what you want to do. You play it like the record. You play it like it's supposed to be played.
Right.
That's what you get paid for. Tully Kennedy from Jason Aldean is another one I've really come to respect. You know, I got Sting, you know, Mark King from Level 42. Mark King, fanatic.
Yeah.
Billy Sheehan, Jeff Berlin, Juan Alderete, who used to be with Racer X. God, I can go on, man. I can go on for days and guys I like. So.
I'm sure we all could.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you mentioned those guys and who they play with. Take me back to some of the guys you used to play with, and what you're doing now. Who you playing with now? What's going on?
I'm actually about to start branching off, kind of doing my own thing. I'm from my own band a little bit here and there, just to kind of do it. Because I've had the pleasure of backing up, as well as just a sideman bass player and also music director for tons of nice, wonderful artists, not only in town but also nationally as well too.
Throw some names out there.
Currently right now playing with a fabulous country singer named Laura Wilkie. Play with Dave Hamilton. Actually, it's William Pope's gig, so I get called to sub with him a lot on a local level. I play with Skeleton Crew. I was one of the original members of the Mega 80s when we reformed, so I did that gig for a while. It was a lot of fun. I played with Jill Jack. I played with Barbara Payton, Blackman Arnold on a local level. I've done stuff with Darryl Worley. Who else? God, I can't. I mean, there's a bunch.
No disrespect to anybody that you leave out. It's just a ton of people.
Yeah. That's pretty much what it comes down to. I mean, there's just a lot of people. I play at Kensington Community Church. I'm very active there. So that's my heart's there a lot as well too.
Okay, praise the Lord. Excuse me. So, were you self-taught, or did you go to school for this?
I was scarred early from the beginning. When I first started playing, I was handed 2 cassette tapes. Remember those? One was Jocko's first record. Actually, 3 now I think about it. And the other one was, which featured one of our local guys, was a Jean Lupani record with Ralph Armstrong on it. And,
Detroit bass player.
Detroit bass player. And then I was also handed Yngwie Malmsteen's Rising Force, his first record. And it was like, here, learn this stuff. So literally from day one, that's the crap that was thrown at me.
Yeah, I see why you were scarred then.
Yeah, scarred like you wouldn't believe. And then later on, I got into other stuff when I started really kind of looking and listening on my own. But that's pretty much kind of how it started. I'm a rock and roll country bass player.
Self-taught, basically.
Yeah, I took a few lessons here and there. I've also taught for a good period of time. But yeah, I'm relatively self-taught, if you will.
Okay. If not, are you teaching now?
No, my schedule's just a little bit too goofy to be able to really sit down with anybody and show them anything that's worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, you play like a beast, man.
I've been lucky where I've been called to sub on gigs. You know, where you walk into a gig that you need big shoes with like. James Simonson's called me to sub on a gig here and there. I play behind Pope, when he's out of town on a couple of gigs that he does. Other cats that get that calls, also Damon Womack and you know, other guys play on that same gig. So I've been lucky enough to keep some pretty good company on some pretty nice gigs.
Oh, that's the circle I need to get in.
Yeah, you know, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Man, when you walk in, you know that Pope just played the night before and you're playing with the same band. It's kind of like, okay, what am I supposed to do? You know, or Damon was playing the night before, Paul Randolph was there, or something like that. So, yeah, that's kind of been my my history. And I played a lot of other people who just get calls. Like today, I got called for 2 different gigs I couldn't do, unfortunately. But
what happened?
Timing things, just some family things that would cause a conflict. That I chose my family over the gig, so kind of like you're supposed to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
well, now what you got going on in the future, man? What's coming up? You say you're working on your own project now?
Yeah, I'm going to be fronting my own band, but it's not going to be anything like everybody wants to be the next Marcus Miller or Victor Wooten. I'm going back to just playing bass and singing.
Like Kool and the Gang, huh?
Yeah. If you see me fronting a Kool and Gang band anytime soon, man, you know there's something really wrong in Detroit. So, no, it'll be like a pop country rock thing, you know. And I'm just gonna. I got a really cool bunch of players I'll be working with. I'm really blessed in that regard. So, but yeah, it's gonna be cool. I'm just gonna play some bass. That's all I do is play bass.
Right, and if we wanted to follow you and keep up with you, some of those licks, man, some of those licks is like killer licks and stuff. And then I know you can sit in the pocket. That's without question that you can sit in the pocket.
You have to.
But if we wanted to follow you and keep up with you and see what you up to and what's going, where could we find you?
Facebook. There's some videos out there of me on YouTube that you can follow me around. I post up every now and then.
What should we search? What name should we put up?
I just started a separate page away from my personal page on Facebook because I'm trying to keep the two a little bit separate so I don't clog up my personal stuff with my non-musician friends, and just start like a music page or whatever. And you can search Micah, M-I-K-A, Fredericks, F-R-E-D-E-R-I-C-K-S. And I just started that page, so go there, like it, you know, and you'll see some stuff here and there. So.
And on YouTube, what could we search?
You know, there's videos from other people. There's a couple when I was playing with Big Wheel in 360 for a minute, and there's some videos up there. There's some other ones too. Just put in my name. I mean, you'll see some other videos that'll pop up here and there. So, yeah. When you go to the post office, you see my face on the wall. I take a little bit of unorthodox approach to some things, and you know, and a lot of guys look at me kind of sideways on how I do stuff and how I play. I mean, I'll come in here and just, you know, do the. And I'll do all that stuff or whatever too, but then I'm just a country bass player. I take a different approach to my gear, and I take a different approach to my playing live as opposed to when I'm sitting down here. Everything from EQ across the board on how I do stuff. So it's if you want to see something a little different and a different approach to than what a lot of guys do, come out and check me out.
Okay.
A lot of that due to the fact that I wear hearing aids. I'm pretty massive hearing loss. So.
Really?
So yeah. So what I hear and what you hear are really completely different things. So I have to have guys around me who tell me. I ask them, man, is this working? Does this sound like me? And they go, yeah, but you might want to do this. It don't quite sound like that. So yeah, I mean, I take a mountain play. Like I said, an amp perfectly flat. And I take these things out, man. I have this nice big scoop, man. That's like Marcus Miller. You know, I put them in, it flattens everything out. So yeah, it's a little bit tough singing and playing and everything too, and it's a little bit tough to hear. Yeah.
Well, man, you know what? I've ran into you, met you, and observed some of your statements on the Detroit Bass Players page on Facebook. What made you join that page?
I like the community, and when I say community, I mean the community of people, the fellowship of people. And I kind of miss it when we had it at Lowdown Sound, when Lowdown Sound was around. You walk in on a Saturday afternoon or something like that. And everybody's getting strings or getting equipment or getting something going to the gig, and man, you hang out there, you'll see every cat in town would go through there sometime, and hanging and talking, and that fellowship was cool. And when they closed down, it went away. You know, and then this came up, and it's like, close. It's kind of doing the same thing, and people talking and passing ideas back and forth, handing bases around, and that for the longest time that didn't happen in this city, and everybody was very competitive.
It didn't happen in other cities either.
It didn't happen anywhere.
I'll get mail from people in other cities, and man, I don't know how y'all do this. Over here, we like that.
Well,
we could never get together.
And that's the way it is in this town too. I mean, I've said some pretty, incendiary things where people don't agree with me, and
that's all right.
And that's fine, because I have my way of doing things, and I call people out, and it's not a matter of disrespect. This is calling somebody out man to man, or just saying, hey, what's up with this? But yeah, a little controversial sometimes, and just an approach to playing and music and everything. But always try to be respectful, and I love what other people do, even if it's not what I do.
No.
I had to learn how to do that. Man.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like I can sit here and do all this all day long. That's fine. That's Guitar Center chops. But then I challenge anybody on there. It's like, hey, come out and play my gig. I'll let anybody sub on my gig. Sit in for a couple songs and play some straight up pop country, and watch you get schooled. Because the first time I did it, I got schooled. And it's discounted. That's one thing I noticed is a big slant, just because the nature and the makeup of Detroit bass players. It's a big slant to jazz, R&B, funk, gospel. And I get that and I respect it, because the bulk of the players make that up. But then when somebody else brings up something that's outside of that norm, it's either cast aside or ignored, and it's like there's great value in it. Even if you don't appreciate it or listen to it, there's tremendous value in it. And some of the biggest educations that I've received is stuff that I don't really care for listening to at all.
Man, I was in the Las Vegas show act, and I had to always play music that I normally wouldn't listen to. And you have to be seasoned to be able to feel somebody else's kind of music, because they could throw at you anytime, and they put the paper in front of you. You better be ready to go, or you just lost your gig.
Right.
And
that's fine and dandy. You can play all the Marcus Miller licks in the world.
That's what I'm saying.
You could front a band playing Marcus Miller stuff, or whoever it was. Great, cool, okay, that's fine and dandy. All right, I'm going to give you a set of 8, 10 tunes to play, where you know what, they don't care if you sound like Marcus Miller. They could care less. You do your sound check. If you do anything more than that's my sound check. Or if I'm playing down low, I'll give them. That's basically all I give them, because they don't care how good you sound. They don't care how many licks you know. They don't care about any of that. They want to control that low end. And if you start doing all this stuff all over the place, they're going to be, okay, we're done, and then you're going to sound like crap for the rest of the night.
Which brings me straight to what I was trying to say. I actually got fired from a rock band because I was too busy.
Right.
I tried to nail those notes. There's like, you know what, that just has too much soul for this pure rock.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Even riding a note has to be rolled properly for different genres of music. You know what I mean?
Now, I'm a big advocate of less isn't more, it's less. Because if you take the approach strictly, the mindset of less is more, well, then you might as well tell Jocko, Rocco Presti, and a whole host of other players that they're doing something crazy wrong. Now, you can do more, you just got to do it correctly, and you have to do it in the right spot. And there's times for it, and there's times not for it. So that's why I hate to play. I don't play all that, because I could play that, I just choose not to. Well, no, you can't. You can't play it. Don't lie to yourself. Because if you could play it, you would. And if you did it correctly, then you would be able to do it and no one would say a word to you. Like in the one band I played with Laura Wilkie, I'm pretty busy. For a bass player on a pop country gig, I'm pretty busy. But I pick my battles. I know when I can do stuff, and I know when it complements something, and I know when it stays away from something. So that's kind of where I get myself in trouble sometimes with people. And I say, no, less isn't more, less is less. Period. If less is more, empty out your pockets, I'll give you less money. Then you tell me if that's more. So
it's more broke.
Yeah, more broke. That's all you are, is more broke. So even with things when it comes to tone, most guys have that nice smiley face. Mine, I don't know if my amp is still that way from being in the bag, but
yeah, I'm a high bass, high treble, no mids.
Take a look at the settings on there. The bass is actually rolled back a little bit. The mid range is cranked up. The treble is completely flat. because they're going to hear me on the gig, because that's where your tone is, in the mid range.
Right.
Yeah.
Nope, my shape is exactly the opposite. High bass, high treble, no mids.
Yep.
So, but it's some guys that want to hear their notes. You know, I don't want to hear my notes.
Right, and I want to make sure what I'm giving, you know, up front is going to be cool. And I've talked to too many sound guys on too many big tours and too many rooms I've played in. You know, everywhere from a 50-seat room to a 5,000-seat room that I've been into, I over-compress my sound to the point where if I was sitting down here with it, you'd be like, why do you do that? Yeah, and the reason being, and Corey Tremontelli and I were just having this conversation the other day, is
another Detroit bass
another
player.
Detroit bass fine player. Don't be fooled by this kid. He can read, and he's a great player. He is a really, really good player. But no, I over-compress because I had a sound guy tell me years ago, the reason you can always hear a kick drum at a gig is because the kick drums is here and it stays here. It doesn't change. Bass guitar takes up a broad frequency in the spectrum. It's very, very large, a lot larger than you think, and there's a lot of energy. And you have a hard time controlling that energy, especially when bass players scoop this, they have all this low end coming off, and they're all over the place. They have a hard time controlling that, so what do? They turn you down. Now, if you can give them a consistent signal, like a kick drum, then you will be louder in a mix. So what I do is I over-compress my sound to take some of that dynamic range away and help them control that energy or wrangle in all those frequencies. Subsequently, I'm heard better on gigs now. I got stuff from it. We can hear you. Well, yeah.
I'm about to start compressing. Does the Jens Benz has a compressor on it? Oh man, well how can I over compress then?
I use a Demeter Compulator compressor. Keeley makes a really nice one. Any actually pedal compressors, and it's something. It's an acquired taste, and you have to mess with it. And you have to understand when you're standing on stage, you're playing by yourself. You set the compression up where you might feel it just chop off a little bit. Then I dial it in just a little bit more, where it sounds a little uncomfortable to me. By myself, that's the key. And then when I start playing, it kind of disappears, it goes away, and you fall into your groove and you do your thing. But out front, they go, man, this signal's right here. It's not really doing a lot of this. You know, if you can pull it down, but you're not going. It's not going to be doing this and this and this. You'll be right here for most of the night. And you know,
a nice little threshold, a little thin threshold.
Yeah, nice little thin threshold, and that'll help you, you know, come up a little bit.
Keep you playing consistent and stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So that's, I mean, it's something I discovered from playing. I've been blessed to play with some really bigger people in some bigger rooms and stuff. And
bigger rooms than this one.
Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But you know, yeah. So it's.
Well, this has been my stage, man.
No, man.
This has been my stage.
BASSmint.
6, 7, 8 years. The BASSmint, man.
And I'll say this. I'll say
legendary
one of the bass players, but I'll say this. Thank you very much for providing this outlet for us and providing your house, man. From all of Detroit bass players to you, thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
It's really, really awesome, man.
Yeah, I thank you too, man. You know, I thank you every time I leave for letting me hang out with you.
Well, it's a reciprocal thing because, like I said, it energized me when I didn't have no. It's hard to go down here and pull a book out and work on really systematic things when you don't have nothing to work for. You know, you don't have no gig, you don't have nobody coming to play with you, blah, blah. But when I got into this, and I came out of, like I said, I've said it before, about 3.5 years of not playing because I was too ill to play. I was completely convinced that I wasn't going to be able to play no more. I was depressed. Didn't have nobody to bounce it off of in here. Then you guys showed up. And I swear, that's just how it happened for me. I mean, I mean, I'm glad, I'm happy that that I get to do this every few weeks and have all these guys come visit because it's not just the bass playing, it's the camaraderie and all that stuff, and it's just so obvious when you come. It's almost like going to church. You stick your hand out, and you know the hand's coming back. You know it is.
Well, that's what I said about Lowdown Sound. When that went out of business, man, I kind of missed that. It was a good hang, you know. You run into all kinds of people.
But you know, this is one of the few cities that, like I said, the other cities, they would have a big problem organizing all their members of their bass camp into one thing.
Yeah, when you think about it, this is most all the bass players that are involved in this on there are pretty much all the first call cats in town. It's not just a bunch of guys who, you know, no disrespect, guys that, you know, nobody knows. We have some just serious heavy hitters from this city.
We got some guys that nobody knows that are heavy hitters.
So that's what I mean. I mean, there could be people sitting in this basement right now that are heavy hitters that you wouldn't know because that's just not their you know, it's not the prerogative to go ahead and brag and say what they've been doing. And
yeah, it's good that you guys like yourself, just join the local ranks and hang out with us. That is rare, especially like that big picture that they took in front of Hitsville. Were you there?
Oh, yeah, I was there.
See, again, I'm jealous again, man. Were you there?
No, I wasn't.
Well, thank you. At least somebody else was there with me. Were you there in the picture?
No, I wasn't.
All right.
Oh, man.
Majority. None of us were in that picture. But
Wait a minute, you wasn't in the picture?
I was there.
no, he was there. It's just
I was there, man.
Oh,
the majority. That's
all right.
I was there.
Typo, man. I ain't
I was there.
Okay, now the other, you know, speaking of the Detroit bass players, the other one that, by the way, that was created by Mr. Craig Sconey, and he also created another page to augment that, which is called DetroitBassPlayers.com. Right, you been hanging out there?
Yes, I am on there. Mike Fred.
Okay, so if we got questions we want to ask, like I guess I have to ask it again on DetroitBassPlayers.com about compression again. I'll probably say, now what was that you said that's going to make me stand out so that the sound man don't cut me in the mix?
You know what, I'll post something up on there, just my thoughts on compression. Like I said, man, people don't always agree with me, which is fine, but
yeah.
It's a sensibility issue. Some people say they chime in on it, and there are a lot of people who are determined to do without compression.
Right. Oh, yeah. You know what? People don't without compression.
Right,
it sounded great forever. And be honest,
it's not a right or wrong issue.
No, it's not a right or wrong issue. But when you play, when you have a competent front of house guy, and you're not just a club where you just have a Mackie board, some other stuff, but you're playing a bigger show where you have a nice dedicated front of house engineer, you're being compressed already.
Okay.
Whether you like it or not, it's being done to you. And I've always been told, because I would say, yeah, man, I'll just run without a compressor. You can do it anyway. They like to have it from our end, so we understand it's there and we know it's working, because then we can play appropriately. If we don't understand and hear it as it's working for us, then you kind of fight it a little bit, and then you will still be heard, but you'll also be brought down in the mix a little bit more. And so that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, and I mean, on the DetroitBassPlayers.com, that stuff will sit there as opposed to on Facebook where it keeps scrolling down and then into the past. Because things like this is very educational for me, so I like to know. I mean, I thought all I had to do was play the bass, but geez, I need to know what the frequencies are for the bass, the treble.
It's crazy because when guys break out of playing in just clubs and rooms, and you start getting into, and we'll start someplace like the Fillmore, which is a good sized room, hold 2,500 people. Royal Music Theater hold 2,500 people. That's when things change for you. And then when you get in rooms or big outdoor places that are the size of Pine Knob or DTE, Pine Knob or Meadowbrook or something like that, when you start playing things like that, things change again. And so you have to change your approach, and you have to change your tone. What you think is your sound doesn't matter anymore. Because now it's all a matter of just, well, one, I got to be heard. Bass is such a massive energy. Now you have to control this and give it to somebody so they can do something with it. Otherwise, you're not going to be heard. How many shows have we been to where you don't hear the bass player? And everybody's like, man, first thing you say, sound man sucks. No, sound man doesn't suck. Trust me, sound man doesn't suck. I would probably say most of the time it's probably the fault of the guy giving the signal. Because good input always equals good output.
And you see, this is educational to me. Now, I
have a problem with sending input signal to the board that's too hot to begin with. And there's no way to clean it up when it gets to the board. You know, so all you got to do is send them a clean signal and let him make you loud.
And the other problem is guys like to take 2 or 3 different styles of basses to the gig. And another thing that I learned a long time ago, which is great, and I'm a big fan of doing it too, because I usually take 2 basses to the gig, but I try to make sure the levels are exactly the same and the tone doesn't vary too much. Because the last thing the sound guy wants to do is when he gets your tone set up for like your jazz bass, all of a sudden you switch to a P bass with flats, which is a completely different tone, completely different set of fundamentals coming off your frequency speaking. Now all of a sudden he has to scramble and try to work this in on you. Now there's nothing wrong with doing that, but you have to keep in mind that you're going to be creating more work for the sound guy out front, and you need to know how that's going to affect him.
And he's got other channels to deal with, and he's not going to play with you all day.
Yeah, man, because sorry, singer has to be heard.
Right. So the thing, what I'm getting out of this is, as far as just Just bring in one bass, maybe. or two, a replacement, but keep them similar and.
Right. I try to keep things similar. I'm a creature of consistency, so I do like to keep things relatively the same and not switch up too much. And I look at any of the cats that are backing up anybody out on tour. Unless you're on a major tour like Hearn or something like that, where they cater to
another Detroit bass player,
marvelous Detroit bass player, a wonderful person. Where it's part of what they do is dependent on when he switches instruments, because that's built into the show. Other than something like that, that's a showcase. When you have cats out on tour, watch how many times they switch basses.
Well, the thing is,
they really don't.
That's the whole point of a sound check prior.
Right.
If you playing one thing, it's sound check, and then come showtime, here you come with your pink bass instead of the one you were playing earlier. Right. You're not going to be hitting on that one.
No. And a lot of times we don't get sound checks. I've played many a supporting act out on tour or on a road where it's like you don't get a sound check because the headlining act took too long. Right. And so you got to throw your set up and you got to go. And so the last thing you want to do is start raising a bunch of crazy havoc out there for them. And and it comes down to you could break this down on many levels, but the basic thing is a good solid tone. Usually isn't a good solid tone that you hear when you're sitting in a basement by yourself. The sound that you get sitting in a basement by yourself generally has been my experience, which I like how it sounds by myself. Never works on the gig. Not work on a gig.
I hate to keep you here, man. I like, man, I could talk to you all day. But because that's one of the troubles I'm having currently is like, you go to the music store.
Oh, yeah.
Listen to the amplifier in the music store and, oh man, this is the best amp in the whole wide world. Then you go home, what happened? You know what I'm saying? Or you get on the gig,
let's take it to the gig, because see, when you're sitting by yourself and you're playing, when I sit by myself and I set up my amp, man, I got this really smooth, the sound is a little bit scooped, don't have that harsh mid-ranges in there, the high end is really sweet, the low end is supple, man, it's killing. I'm just loving life. And I get on the gig, I kind of just get rid of all that stuff. I start with my amplifier flat.
Yep.
I start around.
It has good advice.
I choose right around 400 to 600K in the mid-range, and I turn that up, and all of a sudden I can hear myself. Yeah, I'm fortunate because I don't do a lot of this on my gig, if any at all. And so I don't have to worry about having a scooped slap type sound. I need a sound that's going to be heard and be able to cut through a little bit. And so I do just the opposite. You'll see an EQ. If I had a graphic on my amp, you see my EQ be looking like this, not like this. If you go to a gig, especially an R&B gig, you got a keyboard player, and you got a drummer who's hitting, and the guitar players, man, the bass player has their EQ like this, man.
He doesn't have the cutting power.
You get in trouble. You get in trouble. First thing, I can't hear myself. They grab the low end and turn the low end up.
That does not help.
It don't help.
I mean, we have pro-level sound guys out there on major tours and everything. When they don't have enough low end on something, they cut before they boost. That's what you should do. In certain situations, you cut before you boost. You can't hear enough of yourself. Instead of, man, I need some more low end. Well, turn down a little mid-range, turn down a little treble. Don't turn up the low end. Turn other stuff down around it. Man, I need some more high end. Well, go to the other side EQ, turn this down a little bit, and let this live up a little bit more. It's the same effect.
Very important information he's telling you folks here.
Because the low end is energy. You turn up this low end on here, you lose useful, efficient power out of your amplifier, because low end needs power. That's why guitar players can walk into a gig with a 25-watt amp and crush us. We need 1,000 watts to keep up with the guy, because man, he doesn't have to worry about the low end down here.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. I mean, I'm rambling. Man.
Well, no, it's a round table. This is what we do, man.
That's really one of the principles of having a great bass sound, is to have an ample power ceiling. So like if you got a requirement for 200 watts and you got a 200 watt amp, your thing is running that peak trying to get it out there. But if you got a 1,000 watt amp, it's handling your requirement real easy. You know what I'm saying?
More power is better power. The more power you have, the more efficient your amplifier is going to run.
Because you need to turn it up there, right?
Yeah, you don't have to turn it up. You don't have to touch much, and it's going to be able to handle those big transient hits and everything. And that goes back to, see how this all, it's just cyclical. It goes back to all this big energy you have to control. Once you compress it a little bit, you can control your energy. And just because your cabinet is capable of going down to
40
hertz,
35
hertz, That right there is, that's almost bass player suicide on a big gig. Because I'm sorry, you have a PA that does that. You don't need to hear that much yourself. One of my favorite cabinets I use right now is a bag end. It's a coax 15. It only goes down to like 52 hertz. It's a thinner sounding cabinet. I'm yet not to be able to hear all my low end on a stage with that thing. Because
it takes a lot of power to push those.
Yeah, you gotta push. You gotta push it a little bit. Yeah, that is true. But it doesn't have all this big soupy low end floating around, so you can get in there. And we got a big PA. The big PA is supplying all anyway, so I got it. So.
Yeah. Man, you know what, man? I love the educational stuff. I like the Eddie Cohen interviews. I like the Mike Fredericks interviews. I like the, you know, some people might not like it, but some people, they probably would like your plan. Now, last time I was talking to you, when I had turned that way, you had another bass in your hand. Now all of a sudden you got...
I was waiting for you to notice that.
I saw it when it happened, but...
If you were to turn around, I was going to switch to that one and see.
But, yeah, let me hear what that's that fretless, right?
It's a Warwick thumb bass, fretless 5. Now here's the crazy thing. I play fretless bass. I love playing fretless bass. I don't know any Jocko. And I kind of have that Jocko-y type tone. I don't know any Jocko because it's...
Jocko ought to know you, man.
No, shit.
May he rest in peace.
Yeah, man, yeah, he'd be rolling over his grave, you heard that. No, I come from more of the Pino Palladino, like the 80s version of Pino Palladino fretless stuff, so that's kind of been my thing. And I say this to all bass players. I don't care how expensive it is or how cheap it is or anything else. Every bass player should own a fretless bass of some sort. Just like every guitar players who listen, should own a nylon string classical. Even if you play it, I want to say badly, but every bass player should own a fretless bass because it develops your ear, develops your feel, it develops your intonation, it develops your tone. It lets you really understand. I mean, it develops feel, and for a number of years ago, I played exclusively fretless bass. That's all I played for a number of years. So yeah, so every bass player should be owning a fretless bass of some sort.
Okay, man.
We got some WWF over there.
Oh, we just got somebody that just walked in. Another Detroit bass player. What's up?
Rich, www.bassplayers.com.
and I'm letting him trick me, but where you been, man?
I've been trying to get the food.
Oh, you done missed a whole bunch of good educational stuff.
I know I did, man. I'm sitting there waiting on the food. They tell me about it's gonna take 5 minutes. I get over there, I called a half hour early. Took them an hour to make a meal. So we got chicken up there and all that for us.
Well, guess where you can see this interview at? Guess where you can see the interviews at?
Oh,
the ones that you missed.
BASSplayers.com.
There you go.
DetroitBassPlayers.com.
Yeah, there you go, right there. Well, there you go again. Ain't this the third bass you done had in your hand?
I'm messing with you, man.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we don't want to keep them all day. We got Detroit bass player Mr. Mike Fredericks. He's going to play us out, man. And thank you for the interview. Give us something, play us out, man.
All right.